Hey everyone, this is Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo Story, our digital platform that often looks at some very grave issues, but it is the weekend and it is time to feel a little better, even in the middle of the second wave and all talk of an imminent third wave. Some people are still finding it possible to convert sorrow and the lockdown into song. Today, our very special guests are the band that some of us, if you're of my vintage, grew up on, UB40. A staple, I think, almost at all Indian clubs. Let's give you a glimpse of their new album. That's right, they have a new album coming up. And this is going to be something that takes music inputs from 4 different countries. And, you know, this is a Birmingham reggae band. Like I said, you don't have to be my generation to know and love their music, their songs, whether it's Red Red Wine or Kingston Town or Can't Help Falling in Love, have been staples of literally generation after generation of Indians. And there's an Indian side to their new album as well. So let's welcome to this special Mojo Story broadcast, joining us from Birmingham, still in various stages of lockdown, UB40, Jimmy Brown, Matt Doyle, and Robin Campbell. Welcome. And like I said, you know, if you're my age in India, I don't think we attended a school or a college party or a club party or a dance party, as they used to call it back in my salad days, where your music was not played. It defined our romance, it defined our heartbreak, it defined our first dates. But you guys are still around making music in these depressing times. How do you, let me start with you, Jimmy. How do you manage to convert sorrow, grief, lockdown into song?
Well, I mean, we haven't really. There's not much to write about, is there, in lockdown? Here I am again, staring at my living room wall. What else do you write? But luckily, with lockdown, it comes a technology, which is Zoom, which has allowed us to make this new album, which is a collaboration with us and various artists from around the world, you know. And in the end, we're hoping that we're going to take this on the road and tour it as well. But of course, at the moment, we don't know where we are. Things are still up in the air. So we shall see what happens, but I certainly won't be writing a song about lockdown because there's not much to say about it, really, is there?
Well, except to wish it away. But, you know, the thing is, Jimmy, before we were getting on to do this live broadcast, you know, you were telling me that you're not particularly comfy with the online gadgetry world. So I'm just trying to understand who sets it up for you. How does that work? And how have you been collaborating? If you're not very computer savvy, how have you been collaborating in this age of the lockdown across continents, across countries to make your new album?
Well, the short answer is you pay somebody with the skills to do it. And we have engineers who know what they're doing, and we just make it so, and they make it so. It's like being on the bridge in Star Trek. We say, yeah, let's have warp speed, and somebody gives us warp speed. So, you know, it was the obvious record to make because we're not going to be able to get in the studio with anybody. So we may as well send the music out to different individual artists and see what they sent back, you know. If it was just down to me, then we wouldn't have an album because I wouldn't have a clue what to do.
Yeah, well, if they're giving you warp speed, they can probably beam me up to Birmingham right now as well, in keeping with the magical skills of your engineers. But more seriously, you know, Robin, not many people know the story behind why you're called UB40, and we've got a lot of young kids in our live stream. Not everybody's as old as the rest of us, the 4 of us. So you want to take us to the history of that, because you know, I was reading in one of, I think, Jimmy's interviews that it was one of the big myths that all of you met in some unemployment benefits line. You're all childhood friends. Well, most of you were when the band was first formed in Birmingham, in the inner city of Birmingham. But how did you guys think of this name? Why did you think of it back in the day, Robin?
Well, because UB40 is the registration number of a card, of an identity card that you used to produce every week when you went to sign on to get your unemployment benefit, that was it. UB stands for Unemployment Benefit Form 40, and that was the ID card with your national insurance number, your name and address, etc., that you used to produce every week, get it stamped to show that you were available for work. And when we formed the band, we all became unemployed to give full-time attention to being in a band, to being musicians, and that was why we called ourselves UB40, because we all had the card. It was actually a friend of ours who also had the card who suggested it to us. We had no idea how much, you know, traction that would have. We just thought, yeah, that's quite a good idea, quite a nice name, you know, unusual. And suddenly there were 3 million unemployed people who were interested in why we were called UB40, you know.
Yeah, and I've just seen comments saying, "Oh my God, I had no idea UB stands for unemployment benefit." And I have to say that, you know, I've heard your music all of my growing up years, and even I didn't know that, and I read about it. So just goes to show. But you know, Robin, before I come to Matt, who's clearly, Jimmy's trying to say something. Jimmy,
Jimmy's
go
trying
ahead.
to talk. Yeah.
I just want to say that it's a testament to the benefit of decently financed benefits from the government, because without that, we wouldn't be where we are. You know, we wouldn't have been able to get a band together, and you know, without the unemployment benefit that we claimed. You know, and I believe that it's good to have a generous unemployment benefit, because that will subsidise people into going on further in their lives. You know, the things like enterprise allowances and stuff like that. You know, this is all to help people get on. So I don't think that it's a benefit to anybody to be squeezing these benefits down to nothing. I think it's good for it to be generous, and we benefited from that. And I think they should continue to do that.
And it's fantastic, actually, that state benefits could literally spawn a new band. And that was going to be my question to you, Robin. That, you know, a lot of people associated you guys back in the day with what were loosely called political messages in your songs. And then as your music grew more and more popular and went global, your most popular numbers were these kind of romantic riffs on some of the great Diamond and Elvis Presley classics, but yours became even more popular than the originals, as you know from the demands for these songs when you play live concerts. Do you feel that over the years you grew less political, or do you think the market pushed you in that direction?
We never became less political. We just had success with some non-political songs. But anyone who was a fan of the band, who listened to our current album, would very soon realise that the political content that was in our first few albums is still in our latest album, and always has been. We've done I think 4 albums of the Labour of Love series, which were albums of cover versions, where that success came from, that commercial success. But we've done 20 or nearly 20 other albums, and most of those tracks are original and political. We still scream about the same things. We're still angry. We're just not young anymore. We're angry old men now, and we're still screaming about the same things.
What's making you angry right now, Robin?
Same thing that's always made me angry: inequality, the way the haves treat the have-nots, the way that just everything in the world is unfair. You know, if you're born with, then you keep it. If you're born without, you never get it. That's as simple as that.
Yeah, I think those are lifelong battles, and it's interesting that you should say that you feel as political, you feel as angry. Matt, you're not as old as the rest of us. How's it been for you? Are you less angry than the oldies here? I'm counting myself as one of the oldies.
Not quite as old, a little bit younger, but yeah, like people my age are still angry about the same things that these guys were angry about. You know. 30, 40 years ago. I mean, nowadays for my generation, it's a lot of, you know, not being able to buy a house and not being able to get a job. And these days, if you wanted to, you know, if you wanted to get a group of people together and form a band, and quit your jobs to do that, it would just be so difficult. You know, I was lucky that I was able to kind of quit my full-time job and then, you know, pursue my career in music. But many people don't get that opportunity now these days.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the sort of multicultural influences that shaped UB40, right? Inner city Birmingham boys, lots of people from my part of the world, Indian and Pakistani immigrants, also lots of people from the Caribbean. It all becomes this big melting pot of influence, not just musical influences, but clearly political influences, as I said, like it's just a multicultural environment. There's an Indian imprint in your new album. So tell us a bit about that, whoever wants to take that on. Robin?
Birmingham, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yeah, Birmingham, where we come from, it's a cultural melting pot and has been all of our lives from the 50s and 60s, when the great influx of immigrants came from the Caribbean and from India, Pakistan. That's been the culture that we've been absorbing for the last, 60, 70 years is Caribbean and Asian culture. And it's very much informs our tastes. We're surrounded by Indian music, Indian food. Birmingham is famous for its Indian cuisine, and Pakistani cuisine. The Balti was invented in Birmingham, apparently.
But I just want to tell you that Balti chicken or Balti curries or whatever goes for Indian food in the United Kingdom is nothing like what it tastes here. It's almost like a British dish. You guys have toured India, so you know that, right?
Absolutely.
It's very different.
That's what I said. It was the Balti that we know was invented in Birmingham, and we have a couple of square miles in Birmingham, right by where we grew up, called the Balti Triangle, and it's just full of restaurants, mostly Pakistani restaurants, but the Indian restaurants have been, almost on every corner of Birmingham streets, especially the inner city streets, and it's what we've grown up with. That's really informed everything. I mean, we were listening to Bollywood music when we were kids. We would hear Bollywood because the cinemas were taken over by the Indian.
Is there any song or music that you remember in particular from the Bollywood era?
I don't remember particular songs.
But probably if you heard the tune, it would come back to you. It's muscle memory, music and muscle memory, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I remember Asha Bhosle. That's the name that everybody knows. And of course was immortalised with the record Brimful of Asha. But yeah, we never knew the names, but we just knew the music. We were surrounded by it. And again, Bhangra music. We've just heard that everywhere on the streets. And of course, Jamaican music. That was the other thing that we heard where we lived and where we grew up. And that was the one that we fell in love with. Bhangra music was great fun, and it definitely influenced us. But what we loved was Jamaican pop music, and that became reggae. In my teens, my early teens, it became reggae, and that was the music.
And the rest is Matt, you have an Indian collaborator. You want to tell us about him? In this new album, there's an Indian collaborator among others. If anyone wants to tell us a little bit more about the Desi dimension to this album. Yeah, Matt, go ahead. Yeah.
Hunters is just incredible.
Yeah. Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure on the Indian collaborator, to be honest.
It's very difficult for Matt to comment on that because,
of course,
because he came in, he just came in, right? And I think I put him on the spot there because he just came in. He's new to the collaboration, so I should have actually taken that question to you or Robin, Jimmy. Jimmy, you want to go?
I'll answer it. It. I mean, basically, what happened with this album, because we did an original Baggariddim back in 1986, which was local Birmingham and artists, and somehow we got the idea that we wanted to do a follow-up. But this time, because we've had an international career, we wanted to feature international artists instead. So it's got House of Shem from New Zealand. It's got various artists from Jamaica. It's got Inner Circle working out of Miami, working out of Florida, and other artists from Birmingham as well. And we were in India maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I think it was. And we did a gig at Goa, and the Reggae Rajas opened, and we got to know them and realised that they were flying the flag for reggae in India. And they're the ones that are organising the Goan Sunsplash Festival. And we realised that these were talented guys who loved the music, and we asked them if they wanted to get involved and collaborate, and they did, and this is a result.
Yeah, fantastic. I have 2 more questions for you guys, and one is the most extraordinary story that I read about how an MI5 whistleblower actually spoke about putting you guys under surveillance. I want to know more about that. Like, why, how, and how did you react when you found out, Robin?
Well, it's not unusual. It's something that anyone who's considered subversive, anyone who sings anti-establishment songs and or political songs, they seem to think that we're plotting a revolution or something rather than just saying what we think. And in those days, and probably still now, anyone who's suspect is going to be watched by these services. We found that out. That was, I think it was in the 80s that we found out that we'd been under surveillance. My father was politically active, and he found out that he was under surveillance too. A friend of his who worked in the telephone company, British Telecom, he came to the house. He wouldn't ring him. He came to the house and said, "I just want to tell you, your phone's being tapped, because you're a subversive." And that happened with us. And, I certainly wasn't surprised. I was surprised to find out that not only were they tapping our phone, but they had an office across the road from our studio in a factory. And they had cameras set up, and they were filming the people that were coming to and from the studio. So what they thought we were plotting in the studio.
That's what I was going to ask you. What did you think you were up to?
The gunpowder plot. Who knows?
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah. But, in the end, it's just an indication of their paranoid fantasies and the fact that they're completely divorced from real life. I mean, the idea that a bunch of reggae musicians were going to plot to overthrow the establishment is a ludicrous idea. I just thought, haven't you got any criminals to go and find? Rather than
that this is true for insecure politicians everywhere in the world, right? Artists and creative people, writers and journalists scare them. This is a classic old tale. It crosses continents and geographies. All right, final question. The lockdown's been tough. The United Kingdom is opening up. It's expected that the 19th, all restrictions will be lifted. The crowds at Wembley are crazy. There's a football final coming up for you guys. Are you hoping to sort of go live again very soon? Are you confident about returning to that space, or has these 16 months of this weird COVID era changed you guys and changed how you make music?
No,
I'm not confident.
Yeah, but it hasn't changed what we do. We still make music together in the studio, and at some point we'll be back out on the road. We just don't know when that will be. We have concerts booked for in the next few weeks. That are still supposed to be going ahead, but we just don't know. We have a whole British tour booked for the end of the year, November, December, and we're assured that that's going to happen. But all we can do is keep our fingers crossed and hope that lockdown doesn't come back. We really have no idea. Yeah, that's fingers and toes crossed.
Well, I think we're all living through.
On the road.
I can imagine. And, you know, I think we're all desperate for the life we knew before the pandemic. So
Absolutely.
let's hope we can welcome you guys back to India very soon. We're looking forward to your new album in any case. Matt, Jimmy, Robin, thank you. Take care. And thanks for all the music. As they
Brilliant.
say. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.